is going on, Wolfpack Nation? Hope everybody's doing well this evening. Thank you all so much for tuning in here on this Labor Day. As again, we're going to be talking about all kinds of different stuff. Obviously, mainly going to be talking some NC State versus ECU, and we are 1-0, baby. And also, too, yes, this once again, this live stream is sponsored by Pepsi, just like last week. Meg, appreciate the reminder. Well, but it was just funny how you did to the camera.
I didn't actually show the logo, but no, this is it's going to be an interesting podcast. So live show.
Yeah, exactly. So if you're tuning in with us, make sure again to just send us a comment, let us know, just say hey, or also if you have any questions, thoughts that you want to go ahead and share, or topics that you want us to discuss, we will make sure to get to it. But again, excited to get to it today and excited to be 1-0. At the end of the day, again, we'll kind of talk into more of the nitty gritty, but at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, we are 1-0, and that is a beautiful thing. I think at the end of the day, that is what we wanted. It didn't have to be necessarily the most beautiful thing, and it was definitely far from the most beautiful thing. But at the end of the day, we are 1-0 here, heading into Charleston Southern, heading in here this weekend. So Greg should be joining us here soon. But, just as kind of a reminder, obviously myself, Greg, and Kens were actually at the game. Michael and making an amazing job running the watch party. And I hope y'all tuned in for that and enjoyed that. And also, too, even if you didn't, I'm sure you probably saw on our Twitter page the reaction of Michael and making that was top notch for sure to ECU missing the field goal. So Kens, kind of walk me through it a little bit here. What was your thoughts in that fourth quarter, and what were your expectations when ECU lined up to kick the field goal? Did you believe they were going to miss it, or were you kind of like us, being like, he's probably going to make this?
And going into the fourth quarter, it's always hard playing at ECU for the no quarter thing that they do. So yeah. I knew that state fans were going to have to get rowdy. I knew that with the way things were going, it wouldn't have shocked me if they made the field goal. But after he missed the extra point, I was like, okay, we have a chance. And I really thought we had a chance when they were running out and scrambling to put it together, and then Dave called a timeout. So I was like, oh God. So either this is going to be really good or really bad for us. But it felt just like the Clemson and Carolina game all over again.
Well, and I do want to discuss that, and let us know in the comments if you're tuning in with us. Let us know. Did you agree with Coach Doran's decision to call the timeout, or did you think it probably would have been better odds that he would have missed it if they would have just let the play go and kind of do that quick draw field goal? So, Michael, what was y'all's initial thoughts on that when Doran called the timeout?
I'm gonna let Michael go first here because he was 3 seconds ahead of me the whole time. So
I know it was a little tough, but I don't know. I mean, I think it was kind of surprising in the moment, but he did miss the extra point right before it, so it was kind of like icing him and making him think about it some more. But then also afterwards, Doran said that somebody got injured on that last play and had to come off the field. So we didn't even have 11 players out there.
Oh, really?
I think, I saw that.
He said there was they didn't have enough players on the field. They were kind of subbing in and out. So that's why they called the timeout partly.
Interesting.
They say they finally got back up. Those were his words.
Yeah.
Right.
Which makes sense. I mean, if it's the last kick, you want to have as many people rushing as you can, right?
It was so stressful.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
I think that was part of the reason too, but I don't know. I didn't know that in the moment, and I was okay with it in the moment because he did just miss the extra point. So, make him think about it some more.
Yep, absolutely. And again, Drew reminds us there, one game at a time. And absolutely, again, I think all of us can agree here that specifically two places in general, Greenville and Winston-Salem, that either of those places, just unfortunately with the history that N-State has of playing at those two places, any win you can have in either of those two areas are a huge win, no matter what. No matter how it looks, no matter how it goes, then it is huge for us. And I just heard the bloop. We got Greg jumping in here with us right now. So again, I mean, obviously, again, thrilled again to be 1-0, and at the end of the day, just kind of go ahead and one of the things actually I do want to go ahead and mention as well is I was actually really happy really seeing a lot of the feedback. There was a lot of State fans that commented on our tweets after the game, and most all of them weren't necessarily, I guess, glass half empty, oh, we stink, we're going to do terrible this year. It was mostly kind of like hey, we're 1-0,
Yep.
Okay, cool. He's here. What's up? Yeah, Greg.
Okay, bestie.
Yeah, you're good. So Greg, so we were kind of talking kind of reactions to the field goal at the end. So what was your kind of mindset when they were lining up to kick it? And then also too, did you agree with Doran's decision to call the timeout?
Yeah, I was listening on my phone while I was trying to get everything up and running, and Michael hit it right on the head, and Macon did too. Is we didn't have the right personnel out there due to injuries. So Doran and his post gamer did say that was the reason why he called the timeout, not so much to ice the kicker, but just to make sure we had the right people out there to potentially get a block on. But yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. If we weren't properly prepared, then let's get the timeout and get the right people out there to hopefully give us a chance, and thankfully he pushed it right.
Exactly. All right. So with that being said, we're going to jump on over here to.
Let me say this real quick.
Please go ahead. Go for
it. Is that just not crazy how that game ended, though? I feel like we're just like, yeah, okay.
Well, no. Well, and again, obviously we're not done talking ECU football whatsoever.
Well, I know. I was like, what the heck?
I just more wanted to introduce a tweet here that I know Macon, you were excited to introduce, and I think really kind of sums this whole game up to a T. So I just more wanted to bring that up so that way we can kind of continue this conversation based off of it. So with that being said, Wolfpack Nation, we're jumping into our tweets of the week. Here we go. All righty. So we got here.
Favorite tweet.
Yeah.
Joe, for those who are listening in here with us again, Joe Gilio, all he tweeted right after the kick was missed was just a tweet that has 2 words. You're welcome. That's all he said. And it is and it immediately once Macon saw it, but I think once all of us saw it and knew what the background was, we were like, yes, that is everything and then some. So Macon, can you kind of give a quick overview in terms of what the background of this was for those that aren't necessarily sure what this is talking about?
Yeah, so Joe Gilio and Joe Ovius, they basically did some sort of like joke of a spoof of like buying these different like little knick-knack things to try to break the curse of NC State losing on the road and particularly at Greenville. And they were ultimately, it was not even just that. I think it was just to have, let's remove all bad luck we can by doing any sort of charm or thing they were doing as a joke.
Voodoo,
ritual,
whatever.
Voodoo
I don't believe in the whole voodoo thing, but it was just funny. And it was,
I do now.
No. But it was just funny. It was it was funny. What was funny to me when we got to the game and we're actually like, I was sitting with Michael, and I was like, we're going to miss this. I was getting so angry watching the game. And then he missed it. And I just remembered the thing that Joe did. I was like, he's going to say something so sarcastic and like own that he just helped everybody out. And he's going to Twitter and he said that. I thought that was really funny. So
yeah, no, absolutely. And Beck Wolfpack A13 adds in here too, saying, knowing our luck, they definitely would have made that field goal. I was expecting them to make it 100%. And I mean, I'll tell you this right now, y'all, that it was an interesting state of mind that specifically I was in, just talking about myself. Once they missed that field goal, it was like a mix of like, yay, we won, combined with holy crap, we were terrible, combined with haha, suck on an ECU, combined with holy crap, it's hot out here, combined with holy smokes, I'm thirsty. Like it was all 5 of those things at the exact same time.
It really was. It was a mentally draining game.
It was.
It just felt weird the entire game from kickoff to the end. Like it just didn't feel like a normal game day.
It was one of those games where we were in control, but we weren't in control. Like it was just.
But Devin's post conference interview, I really liked it. Him talking about how he wanted to give ECU credit because it humbled them and gave them a reality check. So hopefully,
That's what Leighton called me right after the game. He got, I guess it's a place where he could call. And he was like, could this be like, I mean, a really good, a blessing in disguise, if you will, right, Leighton?
I hope so.
Well, basically saying, I mean, in all actuality, because first of all, the one thing which I do want to go ahead and say right now is it has been a weird week 1 in college football. It has been weird.
Well, that's what college football is week 1. I mean, to me, I kind of expect weird things to happen, upsets to happen. I mean, like Boston College losing to Rutgers that's really embarrassing to me.
Boston College.
But
Florida State LSU game last night.
Carolina going up to App State and
40 points in the fourth quarter.
Me and Michael, if you caught the tail end of our live stream, we were watching that game. And
we were like, we can't go off now.
It was like 30 seconds, and they scored a touchdown. And he missed the catch for the 2-point conversion. And then we were like, okay, well, the game's over because you saw Carolina go and score a touchdown. And like 30 seconds later, me and Michael kept talking, and I was like, wait a minute. They just scored a touchdown again with like 8 seconds. And I was like, is that a replay of what just happened?
Yeah.
I was like, wait, no, that literally just happened again. So, yeah, it was crazy. It's just the way Utah losing to Florida on the road. I mean,
yeah,
it was wild.
So basically the point being is that at the end of the day, because in this scenario where we're 1-0, and especially since we know at ECU, it's very tough to win there. Not just for us, but for really any AC team, it's been really statistically tough to win there. So a win there period is big. But the way that we won, I feel like it's great because not only is it a 1-0 win, not only is it a win against ECU at ECU, but it's also a gigantic wake-up call. It was a gigantic wake-up call. Like, it was so clear. And even Dave Doran said it in his post-game press conference saying, like, the guys aren't happy right now. Like, they're not happy, even though we just won, and like, we're not happy. And the guy asked, like, do you feel like you'll have to bring them back up? And he was like, no. I mean, and I love that because, I mean, again, that just to me goes back to, like, this is a leadership driven team, and they know what it takes. They know what they did wrong. Like, they don't need Doran to bring them down or him have to build them back up. Like they know what they did wrong. And again, we'll kind of break it down bit by bit. But Hannah Engel with the comment there saying one can hope. But
that's my best friend. She's she was there too.
Oh man, yeah. So but just one thing which I do want to go ahead and just skip over, and that way we can move on from this one topic. I did want to bring up real quick since Ken's, Greg, and I hadn't really had a chance to talk since the game. And I'm sure those who are tuning in with us, some of y'all were probably at the game with us. But I'll tell you this right now. I've been to ECU 2 years in a row now, and again, I'm not one to necessarily crack on somebody when they're down for sure, because I know that there's a lot of staffing issues right now, which I'm sure has something to do with it. But basically what I'm getting at is that the operations at ECU have been rough.
They left
those
to be the
freaking
desired.
ramps. It took me 30 minutes to get to my seat in the nosebleeds from those freaking ramps.
Well, and because the one thing which I do want to add, and then Greg, I'll let you jump in here, but because I know, again, a lot of it could do with staffing issues, but the one thing which I will say is that basically there was a situation that happened where my wife and I, we went to get water, again, waited over an hour for water. And there was a guy in front of us, and he got to the front, and he was an ECU fan. And they said it was cash only. Well, there wasn't a sign anywhere that said that. And so he literally went off and was like, I have credit card. There's not a sign anywhere. I've waited for over an hour.
Yeah.
I need my water. And so we just ended up paying for it, just to help the guy out. Cause I mean, that was wrong. But the vendor responded back to him saying, listen, it's a sold out game. Like, our credit cards, machine, systems are down. Like, there's nothing we could do about it. So basically that tells me that it's like they're blaming that it was a sold out game as if it just got dropped on them at the last minute.
Yeah, like they didn't know.
You knew months ahead of time that this was going to be a ginormous game. You knew that it was going to be a probably sold out game. Mm. So that to me, like that to me kind of changed it from like, I feel so sorry for these people. So like, what were these people doing? Come on.
Yeah, they weren't prepared at all.
Like I literally
watching people go to their seats. Yeah. You know how like you have to go up the stairs to get to your seats? Every area was packed. Like it was taking people 45 minutes to an hour. Like I got to my seat around, me and Hannah got to our seats around the second quarter.
Yep. Go ahead, Greg.
Yeah, so I've got a lot of insight on this. So a lot of the places, the ticket scanners were down when people were trying to come into the stadium. And I know for a fact that a bunch of ECU students bum rushed the stadium to get in without tickets because they weren't checking tickets. So that was part of the problem. The one open parking lot at the Belk lot was oversold, and people that had passes couldn't even get in. There was other people that they told them to go to other lots, and then they got there and they go, no, if you park here, you'll get towed. My wife, same thing as everybody else. I dropped her off at 11:35 on the concourse. She was using the restroom, getting us water. She didn't show up until 5 minutes before half was over. She couldn't get up. The police were telling them that they weren't letting people in the stands because there was too many EMTs up there, rendering aid to folks. And it was a blank show. And I'll just let you fill in the first word on that. But
I'm just going to apologize to every operation person at Carter Finley who I've ever had an issue with, because God bless them. Honestly.
Yeah.
It's gorgeous.
Like, they're perfect.
Yeah.
And I think some of that is probably has to do with, since they've expanded, right? The stadium, they expanded the seating, but you also have to account for, you're going to have more people and you got to have better infrastructure. So,
well, go ahead, Greg.
No, I was going to say, we have a really good friend of our tailgate group. He said that exact same thing, Michael, that he went to ECU. He actually played baseball there a long time ago. And he said, they kept building up, but they never built any other infrastructure to support it, i.e. the vending, the restrooms, all of that. And so it's just, he says it's a nightmare. Like, he won't even go. Like, he just went because his cousin gave him free tickets. That was the only reason they were going. But it was a mess.
And I see Robert's comment here saying ECU is subcontracting out their vendors. Pirate fans are letting AD quote unquote have it over these issues, and because that's really
good.
Well, and it
needs to be done.
Because I mean, as fans, I feel bad honestly for the ECU fans, because I'm sure they want to be proud. They want to have people want to come to the games, but I'll be honest and say, not anytime soon, unless I know that some things are different. Because again, just like Greg was saying, the parking was terrible. Getting in and out of the stadium was terrible. Getting water, basic water, when it's like literally feels like 100 degrees out there.
And it's not even to the visiting fans, it's to your own fans as well.
It's to everybody. Yeah.
Exactly. ECU fans were in line waiting to get up the stairs just as much as everybody else. I felt bad for the students, because I'm like, this is your first game and you're out of the student section for 2 quarters. You won't even get there by halftime.
Yeah, it was half empty at one point. In the student section. When it was like a close game. It was
ridiculous. You heard all these state fans saying, we take Carter Finley for granted. Like, walking through there, we were all saying it.
and Leighton, to your point about the guy, trying to pay with the credit card, if you look on their website, it actually says they're a cashless operation. So, like, why would you have cash?
Yeah.
Couldn't get like there were some people in front of us. Go ahead.
No. Well, just saying that. I mean so basically the only people that got anything were the people that just happened to have cash on them. Because just like you said, if I was a fan and I've read on your website cashless, then just like I think basically what you're saying is that I didn't have a need to bring cash basically. So yeah, right. No. And again, y'all, I mean, and that's why I keep saying this, that, and Kenzie's already said it a couple of times, and I'll say it again, that at NC State, we are definitely very blessed. And I say it all the time that parking wise, like, we're up there. Like we have great parking opportunities for people, whether they want to pay, have something ahead of time. The concourse is huge, so it's very spread out, so you're not necessarily like having to like walk through lines in order to get from one place to the other like you have to at ECU. There's a ton of vending options, like with them adding the food trucks now, so there's a lot of different places you can get food, drinks, alcohol wise. They figured that process out, so it's pretty simple, and they're able to get through that line pretty quickly. So again, Kenzie, you said it, I'm going to say it 100 times. Just thank you to all the operations staff that we have. They do an amazing job.
Giving them all a hug on Saturday.
Anybody who ever has any complaints, go to the ECU game and then come back to me. All right. So
the last thing I'll say about their game day is they didn't even open up cooling stations until halftime. Like you knew it was an issue.
Yeah.
Like they had nothing. They weren't prepared. Like they were very, very much overwhelmed. And I do feel bad for the staff that were busting their hump there and probably getting a lot of grief. And a lot of it wasn't their problems, like the technical issues. It sounds like they probably had a lot of with the ticket scanning and the credit cards that might have been on the same kind of system. Who knows? I mean, you couldn't even hear the referee making calls on the microphone.
Yeah.
Like
that was on TV too. That was on TV too.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
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 Tell what you're saying.
Yeah.
So kind of jumping back into it a little bit here. So we'll kind of use this tweet to kind of jump into back in this conversation. Emeka Emezi tweeting out there, dang, now I see what it's like being a Pack fan with the laughing, crying
That
emoji.
is my favorite tweet ever.
And that's also a great tweet of the week for sure. I mean, I feel for Emeka for sure. So, because I'm sure he was probably sweating just like we were. But kind of going through it a little bit here. So first of all, obviously huge news coming out today as Peyton Wilson was officially announced as that his MRI came back clean. So nothing major there, just a lot of soreness. And because I'll tell you this right now, I saw, I think it was the second drive, him come out. And I was like,
yeah,
here we go again. Like
when I saw
seriously.
him with the ice on, I was like, crap, you've got to be kidding. This man can't catch a break. And I feel bad for him.
Yeah, no, exactly. So, I mean, so glad to hear that there's nothing big there. And honestly, for me, I think that we've all said this, that, I mean, with Charleston Southern, I mean, you feel pretty confident that our defense personnel, especially with Devon Betty and Jordan Poole there, that they should be able to take care of it. So, I mean, don't push them by any stretch of the measure, especially for Charleston Southern. And then obviously the other piece of news, which I'll kind of add before I let one of you guys jump in, is obviously with Trent Penix, it came out that he has a quote unquote non-surgical related injury that's going to keep him out 4 to 6 weeks. But I mean, he basically tweeted out there saying that he'll be back better than ever. So definitely hoping for a quick turnaround there for that. So making, what was your kind of initial, obviously, first of all, the news about Peyton Wilson was huge for sure. I mean, as again, that guy can easily be an All-American linebacker if he could stay healthy, but that's just been the one issue he's had for his entire career is just injuries. That's the only issue.
Yeah. Honestly, I'm thankful that he can still play, but man, very quickly, my second thought was, and I hate to say this, but I don't know if we can count on him to be there. That sounds really terrible. Not that he doesn't want to be there, but when you're planning, if he's so injury prone, maybe this was just a one fluke thing. Maybe he comes back and he plays for a season now. I'm being like a maybe pessimist, if you will, in this regard, but I really feel like you need to plan for somebody else to be ready to be the starter, if you will, at times. And then if Peyton can play, well, he should be the starter and great. But whoever, I think people are saying Jalen Scott's his backup. Like he has to be ready at all times. Just like any backup should be, but like he really needs to be ready. He needs to get some first string reps a lot of times, in my opinion, because
I will say he ended up leading the team in tackles on Saturday.
Yeah,
Jalen Scott. So
yeah,
nice.
Yeah. So was that a PFF guy you just pulled up?
No.
But that was it was just really, I really feel bad for Peyton. I mean, like he's got all the potential in the world. I really almost feel like, is this kind of, I mean, again, maybe it's just a one-time thing, but if he gets injured again, like I just don't see an NFL draft scout being like, yeah, we can take this guy in the second round or third round. I feel like he become the 4th, 5th, 6th round guy with high upside. And, I hate that for him because he's probably the biggest draft potential defensive player we have. So I just think for this team, you obviously make sure he's healthy and get him healthy, but can you count on him to be there every single week, every snap? I kind of feel like at this point, sad to say, I don't think he can. So unless he kind of slowly continues to play and shows he's not getting injured, that's good. It's just you have to be very cautious of him. And I'm kind of glad they pulled him out. If he was hurt, do not screw around with him being in the game at this point. So, and you were up 21-7 in the third quarter. You kind of felt like maybe we don't really need him to play right now. Jalen Scott and Devin Betty can fill in, but Yeah. So
yeah,
at least you got a guy like Jalen Scott who can lead the team in tackles, right? So
exactly.
be thinking for that too.
Exactly. Well, and because the one other thing I'll kind of add to as well, kind of expanding outside of Peyton Wilson, is that honestly, and let me know if maybe Macon and Michael, you guys kind of heard it more maybe on the TV, but for me personally, I didn't really hear Drake Thomas and Isaiah Moore's names really come up that much at all on Saturday. I mean, they were kind of quiet, oddly quiet, I guess.
Well, so, I will say I'll add this. That was now I will do the plug for Pro Football Focus stuff now because we got one of the accounts. Now I was reading through this. If you look at and you two guys saying Drake and who were the questions you had?
Isaiah Moore.
They actually I think they quietly had good games. They didn't have a lot of like a big.
They didn't have splash plays.
Right, but Drake was your fifth leading defender. He had a 68.7 grade in the game, and Isaiah Moore was actually lower. He was the 11th best graded player for your team, but I think it was Isaiah was tied for first with pressures. He had 3 pressures for the day, so that's good. But beyond that, like I think he led the team in QB hurries. So he was getting pressure on the quarterback, but he didn't have a lot of flash plays, and neither did Drake. So I remember there was a few times me and Michael were watching the game, and there's other guys getting tackles because of what Isaiah and Drake were doing on the field. I was kind of rewinding the play back a few seconds to see who was causing the offensive player to go a certain direction that got a tackle for Jalen Scott or whoever. So
no, absolutely. Because I mean, kind of since we're talking about defense, the one glaring issue that we had because to me there's one glaring issue on both sides of the ball. Defense wise, we didn't get a single sack on defense, and especially with as much as Tony Gibson loves to blitz, and especially with as great of pass rushers and also too as fresh of pass rushers as we're able to have, combined with also too what we have a linebacker. You should be able to get there. Now, I know in kind of their defense that first of all, and even IPS, I was reading one of their tweets, basically said that ECU had a great game plan in place where it was a lot of quick action plays. So basically, it was a lot of holding it. It was getting the ball, throwing it. Like it wasn't a lot of holding it for 3-4 seconds. It was just snap it, toss it. It was very quick. So they didn't really give our defense a lot of time. But there were a couple of times where he did hold on to the ball that we weren't able to get to him. And also, too, there were probably 3 or 4 times that he also scrambled pretty much untouched and was able to run for 10, 15, 20 yards. And to me,
he was their leading rusher.
That's frustrating. Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, great job holding down the run. I mean, we pretty much made Keaton Mitchell pretty much irrelevant on Saturday. But, so Greg, I mean, and Michael can jump in there, but what's your kind of thoughts on that kind of, because my dad honestly asked me straight out of it. He was like, what was the problem with our D-line? I was like, I don't really know, honestly.
That's what my dad and me and my dad were talking about it too. It was like, and Michael, we were even like during the game, like we were getting pressure, but we couldn't get our hands on them. And and throwing those bubble screens to the side and throwing those quick passes that deflates any sort of pass rush you have. But that is a concern, I would say. If you can't get your hands on a quarterback against a non-Power 5 opponent, what does that say about your ability to get to the quarterback? I think you have to be able to get pushed with your 3 defensive linemen there, but your linebackers are essentially acting as a lot like more of your pass rush at times. So with Drake and Isaiah and Peyton not playing great games. I mean, Drake played the best game out of the 3 of those linebackers. It's interesting. I think you also, if you go back and look too, like again, going back to some of the stuff now that we have this data, we can look at with PFF. The tackling, you heard Coach Doran mention his post-game conference. I was surprised by this. There's one thing that's pretty interesting. Your worst tacklers on the team for the game, besides let's see here. Yeah,
I guess Tanner Engel was up there.
Yep.
Tanner Engel was your third lowest. Do you know who the other 2 were? Because we're talking defensive line. Do you know the other 2 were?
Defensive line.
Drake. Defensive line.
Savion?
I said no. I
Durden.
said the other two were
Durden.
and Durden was one. Durden was your lowest.
Yeah, and
And
Drake.
then, or I think it's your lowest. Yeah, Durden was your lowest, and Davin Van.
Yep.
So your two starting defensive ends, if you will, I think, or did unless maybe Durden's your two defensive. Okay, so your defensive and different tackle. Poor tackling, Tanner Engel. Poor tackling. And then other guys who are really low scores: Jalen Scott, C.J. Clark, defensive lineman, Isaiah Moore, really bad tackling grade. So your best tackle on the defensive line was Savion Jackson. So
that number 9.
I mean, it's just they were talking about it, and the data is there to show it that they didn't play well, especially your leaders, Corey Durden, Tanner Engel. Not playing, CJ Clark, Isaiah Moore at poor tackling. That's not good. And Doran said they should have tackled maybe more in preseason stuff. So
now I will go ahead and my mom asked a question about did NC State have sacks last year? I'm thinking no. I mean, I would say sacks wise, we had more for sure. We were definitely. We were definitely
Levi Jones was all about pass rush, right?
Yeah. He had 6 last year.
Yeah, all by himself.
Peyton Wilson had a lot. Corey
So,
Durden had a few. I mean, I think the Clemson game, Corey Durden had a few.
Yeah, we just weren't necessarily popping off. We weren't necessarily popping off the charts, but we were definitely effective pass rushing. But I do want to go ahead and touch on Benjamin Orman's thought about poor secondary play. So the first thing which I'll go ahead and say to you, Benjamin, first of all, is that our offense did really help out our defense for the most part. Our defense gave offense opportunities to make something happen. I mean, again, second play of the game, we freaking intercept the ball. We should have immediately right there gone down, score a touchdown, and then the game's in our hands probably for the rest of the game. But our offense goes 3 and out. And then that was pretty much the story of the game. Our defense was giving our offense opportunities, but our offense couldn't do anything. And then our offense was putting, our defense in quick change situations, such as with the Jordan Houston fumble at the goal line. And with Devin Leary's interception that defense had to jump in on. So our secondary made plays. Now again, Holton Ahlers I'll say this right now to you. Holton Ahlers had a heck of a game. He had a heck of a game. Now, I mean, do I think that he's uberly talented?
I think he's from Greenville too, right?
He's born and raised.
Dad's a PA caller on the games. Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
I get what you're saying because they said it every second. I get you.
Oh, I got you. I got you.
We all missed that.
Well, I rewatched it.
And he turned out a bunch of offers to play to ECU, didn't he?
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I know.
And I'm sorry.
I think Larry committed before he did. So.
And keep in mind too that I'm saying in terms of what my expectations were, for the most part, he did overall a good enough job to get it done. Now, obviously, the 2 interceptions, and the one thing which I kept on saying to everybody around me, which is that he just doesn't throw the ball with a lot of power. Whenever he throws deep, it sits in the air forever.
Floats, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so again, I just don't really know talent wise throwing the ball what's there, but I mean, again, he was able to put together some drives, and so so that's one thing I'll say.
Can I talk about the D-back?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So
I like Macon was saying, or Leighton, I'm not sure which one you brought it up, but I think ECU had a good game plan getting the quick passes because with the 3-3-5 we run, a lot of the pass rush does come from the linebackers blitzing, and Ahlers was getting the ball out in like under 3 seconds on most of those plays. They were doing quick slants and like curl routes right to the middle of the field where the linebackers were like vacating to come rush, and credit to them, it was a good strategy.
Yep.
I'm looking here. Sorry, Holton Ahlers was their most effective rusher this game. He was the highest graded player on PFF. So, that just goes and tells you there. Overall, total offense, he was your highest player too. So, but mostly it came from his ability to run.
And we should have sacked him a couple times, and where he did get some runs off. But again, that's where those few missed tackles come into play.
Yeah. Go ahead, Greg. I know you said
I just want to talk about
go ahead.
Yeah, the defensive backs. If you look at the whole picture, right? Like we didn't get the pressure on the quarterback, and with Tony Gibson's defense, we've said it. He brings those linebackers, and you're leaving those defensive backs on islands. So with all that being said, I thought they did a really good job. I thought Aiden White did a phenomenal job. He had 3 pass breakups. Tanner Engel had a nice couple pass breakups where he was hitting through contact. Shaheem Battle with the interception, and then that one run stop where he blew up both himself and the wide receiver.
Yeah.
So given all of that, I thought the defensive backs held up really well. They threw for almost 270 yards, but most of that was in the fourth quarter when they had to throw the ball and they pretty much had abandoned the run.
That's a good point.
And we weren't just getting to the quarterback. I think if you get to the quarterback, that gets better. With the one exception on the first touchdown to East Carolina, where Derek Pitts blew coverage, I thought our defensive backs played really well.
And I want this too, to go along with what you're saying, Greg. Again, going back to some of these stats here. 4 of your 6 best defensive players overall this game were DBs. You got Baker Williams, Fagan, Battle, and Pierre Lewis. So I mean, those
didn't Tyler get the other interception, or was it Aiden?
Tyler was the second snap.
Yeah,
the second snap interception.
Yeah, and then Shaheem got the second one. Okay, got it.
And a quick side note, real quick. It's the end of the first quarter for Clemson Georgia Tech, and it's 0-0.
Clemson has not looked good
on
offense.
Come on, Yellow Jackets.
Clemson has not looked good on offense.
A Georgia Tech win would really be big.
Oh,
but
well,
would it though?
Well, it would for NC State. It would for NC State.
For NC State,
it would not
we
for the ACC, not for the ACC.
Correct.
Especially with the way we looked on Saturday.
But we're selfish. Let it be better for us.
And I'll just say this one thing before, and again, we'll move back to ECU here. But Clemson's first possession, 3 and out. Clemson's second possession, 4 plays, fumble. Their third possession, 3 plays, -6 yards, 3 and out punt. So
DJ's look garbage.
I'm just
warm
saying,
up the backup.
So.
And I'm telling you right now, so I know people are going to say like it's going to be very quick. They're going to be calling for Cade Klubnik to be the starter at some point if DJ, but he might, because he's a 5-star quarterback. State recruited him. He committed very quickly to Clemson though when he obviously he wanted that offer. But I don't know if he's really thin. He doesn't have the muscle mass, in my opinion, yet to really be there. But granted, Lamar Jackson didn't either, but Lamar Jackson was a really special guy. It's just a totally different athlete. So you make muscle mass and all that does not necessarily need to be there. But when you're struggling and you're a true freshman quarterback, I'll be concerned. The offensive line better play elite if they're going to play him at all. So
all right. So I think and kind of jumping back to ECU,
let's get back there.
Get back there. So obviously, I think defensive side, the one thing which I just kind of wrap up the defense in the bubble is that I don't think anybody should have a worry about defense whatsoever. Tony Gibson, these guys are going to get figured out. Tanner Engel has not been able to sleep at night. With how he played and the opportunities that he missed. So he's going to bounce back, and they're going to actually put the hammer on Charleston Southern.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to give some tidbits here again. Like the worst part of it, you look at the stats on Pro Football Focus. Tackling's the worst thing we did this game. I mean, if we just fix that, like your starters, you're going to be playing better defensively. I think what's interesting also with pass rush, as a highlight, that was a question we had coming into the season, and I think it still is. But in a positive way, the one player who led the team in pass rush grade, do you want to guess who it was?
Tyler Baker-Williams.
Like
in pass rush?
Yeah, I mean it's more of a obvious answer to a degree. It's Davin Van. Davin Van was. So as a young guy getting his first start, he led the team in pass rush. Now you didn't really see it. You got pressure there, but you didn't see that. So
get their hands on him.
And then I'm curious. I want to ask this too before we move away. If we are going to move away from this game,
from defense to offense.
Okay, well then you can go ahead to offense. Then I'll switch over. I was going to at some point if we could talk about what you guys thought were the positives overall from the game, what you thought the negatives overall. We're kind of talking about it now, but
well, we'll get there. We haven't even talked about Devin Leary yet, which I definitely want to talk about him and Demi Sumo for sure. But I do want to bring up I want to make sure to bring up comments here. So Southern Family says, every single long-term State fan knew this would be a hard-earned win regardless. Bandwagon, fair weather, probably said, oh, look at this roster, et cetera, et cetera. Even if we won by 80, it's still 1-0. And yeah, I mean, like all the UC fans are all heckling around us. I'm sure with you, Kens and Greg as well, saying, number 13, y'all ain't number 13, y'all are sorry. And blah blah. It's like whatever, guys. Whatever. We're
when does the new poll come out?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Because of the Monday game.
because of the Monday game.
It usually comes out on Sundays. But
That's what I thought, or whatever. But it's all right.
So real quick, and just by a finger up or finger down, does anybody think that we're going up the charts?
24/7 Sports said that. I was like, what? I mean, we won.
Yeah, I think so.
Won,
I mean, maybe we go to 12. Maybe we go to 12. But
Yeah,
we
not
move up
far
one.
at all.
I'm thinking 15 is fair.
Yeah, I'm
15
with
is fair.
Layton.
Just a
I
little
think
bit of a
it's
drop.
like I
Just a
think they're
little
going to
bit.
shift. I think I think the biggest jump's going to be is Florida. I think Florida's going to be the biggest jump.
Yeah.
they're not even ranked right now.
No. Florida State, do they get a bump? They're 2-0. They beat LSU. But
That's
LSU
not a good
ranked.
LSU team.
Right.
Yeah.
So
not.
but
Man.
That game was crazy.
but I mean, like, but who else have other teams gotten 2-0 and beaten I mean, I get they're not ranked, but
Well,
that's kind of beside the point.
But I just want to kind of get a thought on.
I
quick
think
thought
it's
on that, but
15-16 with what you'll see State at.
Yeah.
I don't think we
kind of
move up.
odd punishing a team that actually won on the road week 1.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
I mean, I get it. We didn't convince anybody. So
Well, and especially because there was over 50 games that happened just Saturday alone, and only 11 of them the away team won. So
right.
you
I
know,
mean,
that's-
you didn't score a single point in the second half, and you still won. Granted, a lot of it was luck, but
Sure.
sometimes you need luck.
But-
So
Amen.
Sometimes it's
Amen
better
to
be
that.
lucky than good.
Amen on that. Amen. So yeah, kind of jumping over here. So wanted to kind of bring in actually Greg Roberts' comments saying, I hope coaches aren't trying to make Leary a game manager. Leary needs to throw 40 plus times a game.
It's a little excessive.
Well, and again, I think that
I was doing that at your mom, Kathy's comment there. What? That was crazy. Sorry.
yeah, no, I don't think we jumped down to 24. That's a little excessive for when on the road. So anyway, but it was probably that UNC pollster guy that probably had us at 24. Probably.
Yeah.
I mean, I did see that your mom was at a brewery earlier, so I don't know what's going on there.
Yeah. So obviously we got to talk about, the offense side. So kind of talking about Devin Leary here first. So I know that you and I, we're talking after the game, and statistically Leary didn't have a terrible game, but from watching it and from what we know of Devin Leary in terms of how good he can be and the throws he can make, he was nowhere close to that. He was way off from his normal self, way off. And I mean, there's many different examples I can bring up, but the one in particular is the last offensive drive that we had. It was like a 2nd and 15, and Keon Lesane did a 15-yard out towards the ECU sideline. And Keon ran a beautiful route. So he was literally all by himself, had the perfect spot open, and Devin Leary way overthrew it. And it's like, you've hit that route a million times just at NC State alone. And especially in that moment, we need you just hit that. We get a first down, we can run another minute and a half off the clock. Like, so that was so frustrating to me, honestly.
That was the throw he had a problem with all day, was that out, right? From one hash to the other hash on the other side. Like he was all over. He was short, he was long, he was wide. I mean, only thing he didn't do was hit the mascot.
But like the thing that I think is, I know this isn't an excuse, but I didn't realize, I always forget that was his first game in Greenville. So
yeah.
I mean, that was his first.
I get it. Yeah, I get that too.
No, I get it completely, but it's like, I mean,
look at you, Kens. You're so good.
I gotta back my quarterback, especially because he watches this show.
That's my quarterback.
That's my quarterback.
No, I think what Leighton said was the key. It's we know how good he can be, so like,
and should be
and should be, and he didn't have a terrible game, but we expected more out of him.
But he forced stuff that he usually never had. I mean, again, that interception throw to Thayer, there is zero reason in that situation you force that throw. Zero reason.
That cornerback sat on that route. Like, I mean, he was just there and he just jumped it. I mean, that was a bait. Like, he baited him, and then Leary took the bait on that.
Here's my thought with that too. I was telling Michael, like, early on in the game, what I was not impressed with was Leary was looking down his receiver for 2 or 3 seconds where he threw the ball. I'm like, that is not going to get it done, man. You can't hold your eyes there. I'm throwing to you. Be ready. Here it comes. Boom. Oh shoot, it's incomplete. You can't do that. And it's probably what's going through Larry's head. Here it comes, buddy. But no, you could tell there were some plays. I know it was one of those 5-10 yards out, and he's looking the receiver down, holds his eyes there for like 2-3 seconds. He throws it, and it's a breakout. I think it was to Carter, that particular. So it's not great, but I mean, Leary, I'm trying to look at the stats of the game. He'll be fine. But you're right. I thought the comment that
he'll be fine.
Doran making them a game manager, it did seem like to me, if you look overall, take a step back at how the State played, it seemed like State tried to be really conservative this game. Like they really tried to run the ball well to me, it was they thought we're just the better team. We can run this and kind of make Leary a game manager this game and win this. It didn't come off like we're going to just, showcase Leary here. And it definitely was not that. So, I'd
also be curious to see how much of the playbook we were working with too, right? Because you always hear about that, but I don't know if that's a thing in college. If you don't want to open the playbook up too much, week
I think
one.
it is.
I don't. Yeah, I think there's some truth to it. And Coach even talked about it today about the goal line. We had like 8 or 9 plays down there. He goes, "Look, we just ran out of plays. The teams don't have that many plays."
That was a good point he made. That was a good point he made because those refs screwed them over.
Yeah, there's not even talking about that. Like the timeout, the play had already started.
And he was in the end zone
2 times. Yeah, I was like, "What are we doing here?
Sneak.
We're moving the ball like it was a mess." Like
that moving the ball in the middle of the field, like half the yard, actually already brought mistakes. I was like, "What?"
I don't understand how they just let that go. It's like everybody just kept going like it was nothing.
Nobody's talking about that.
I don't know.
But
go ahead, Greg.
I was just going to go 2 other things. One, I think Demi Sumo was in the end zone. Obviously, there wasn't a video that showed angle that showed it. Yeah, his legs were up and his arms were like his forearms were over the goal line, and so unless he's holding the football behind his arm, like that's a touchdown. And then I honestly, and not to be a homer, I think Jordan was down for his fumble. Again, I don't think there was an angle. His legs weren't down, but I thought maybe his forearm or elbow was down before the ball came out. But again, we didn't get an angle on that showed that definitively. So I know we had those 2 trips down at the goal line and came up with no points. And maybe that's something we should talk about too. About do you kick the field goal or do you impose your will? And I like Coach Doran's comments today with regard to that. I thought Coach Doran had great answers for all the stuff and
everything,
reasoning of why he thought about what he thought. And he was like straight up. He goes, "Look, those are my guys. I'm riding or die. Like if you tell me you go get a yard, go get that yard." I did like what he said. He said, "They owe me one now. Like they owe me."
I did.
Here's my thing.
They do.
I was talking again to my dad about it, and it was like he was really frustrated we couldn't do that. Like, there's and a lot of State fans are saying that we should have kicked the field goal there. But if you're NC State and you really believe you're 13th in the country, and you're up against ECU, they had that stat that came out before the game that the average weight difference between the offensive line of State and the defensive line of ECU was 50 pounds. Like we're talking 310, 315 to 260, 265 for ECU. And if you're the better team, just go run it down their throat. Don't get cute with it. I still don't understand the shotgun call and the 4th down. But I mean, I guess you saw.
But ECU did it too. ECU was doing the same thing.
Florida State and LSU did it last night. People do it. I get it. But if you really think you're the better team, it should be a mental thing. Just go run it down their throat. So
man on man, just go.
And on that, I will say, Doran chose to go for it and then trusted his defense, if we didn't get it, to stop them from going 99 yards, which we didn't get it. And then ECU, I think a lot of people forget, turned it over on downs right after they got the back. We got the ball back, but then Leary threw a pick 2 plays later. So, and then they scored after that. So, I mean, it worked out exactly how it should have. It just was unfortunate. We turned it right back over.
Yeah. And one of those stops too, they ended up punting, and that's where Thayer got the nice return. But I agree when Coach was talking. It was like, hey, there was still 10 minutes left. There is a big difference between 10 and 14. 14, they got to go get 2 touchdowns. With 10, they can get a touchdown and a field goal. It's much easier to get that field goal. Well, hindsight's 2020, obviously, but
yeah,
you know, analytics wise, it's like, okay, you know, you only got to go so many yards to be able to get a field goal, whereas you got to go the length of the field for the touchdown. So with 10 minutes left, I think that is the right call.
I agree. Now, the one thing which you did say, Greg, which I do have to agree on, was that Demi Sumo was electric. And speaking of electric, I want to take a quick second here and give a shout out to our brand new Tuffy Talk live stream sponsor, Darby Electric, which is a veteran-owned company, and they specialize in residential work, but that's not all. They also build electric vehicle chargers, do a ton of remodel work, commercial work, and many other small projects. Even though the Triangle is their primary service area, they are capable of expanding that boundary. So make sure to check them out at their website, darbyelectricllc.com. Find them on Instagram or Facebook, or give them a call at 919-339-0062, which they are available for your call 24 hours a day. So make sure to go and check them out, y'all. But thank you for Darby Electric for joining on here as a sponsor. Really do appreciate it. Make sure to go check them out, y'all. So, but yes.
I'm just here for the Ashlyn Smith and Kathy Smith score updates.
Right.
Yeah, my wife and my mom are coming in clutch right now.
No.
Now, the one thing which I will say, so basically what happened real quick is that Georgia Tech got a punt blocked, and then Clemson had the ball on the 3-yard line, and it took them 4 plays to get in the end zone. So interesting one there for sure. Yeah, sounds very similar. Yeah. But anyway, jumping back in, Demi Sumo. So first thing I do want to say is that real quick is that
slimy shark,
slimy shark. But I do want to say though, in Jordan Houston's favor, besides the fumble, I wasn't necessarily like I thought he was solid. You know, I think he made some plays. I think he ran the ball well. I do think that Tim Beck needs to rethink a little bit and maybe stay away from using Houston as kind of the between the tackles guy. Use him as the swing out, quick screen guy, or the toss guy. Like get him outside. He's just not really a ground and pound down the middle guy. So maybe we can use more Sumo being that between tackles guy. So I just wanted to kind of say that real quick because everybody's going to talk about Demi Sumo, but Jordan Houston is still a solid running back for us. I do not want us to forget about him whatsoever. But I know, Macon, you love Demi. I know you probably got some PFF statistics there in front of you.
I go back to all the things I was seeing on Pack Pride and Inside Pack Sports and their interviews with coaches and all that. And like, I have never heard this kind of hype or talk consistently coming around for one guy. And you saw it and it was like game 1. He's already, he looks like the starter. He does not, he's RB1 in my opinion. And you already saw the depth chart come out. I think they're doing it out of respect for Jordan and also we're not recognizing it's only been one game for Demi Sumo.
It's only been one game.
Yeah. But it's like, he needs to be at least an or on the depth chart, and he was.
He is now,
right. Yeah. So,
ahead, Michael.
I think there's plenty of room in the offense for both of them. They both average over 4 yards a carry, so that's solid. I'm excited to see what Sumo can do, though.
Yeah.
If there was betting odds in Vegas on who's ends up the starter by Clemson, I think it's going to be Demi.
100%.
Yeah.
Wow.
If it's not, I will go pick it outside. I will go pick it outside the Wendell Murphy's and be like, "We want Sumo. I'll dress in a Sumo suit for the game." I'll get one of those Durham Bulls Sumo suits and just go to the Clemson game or Car Finley. Yeah. So,
but and again, that's nothing against Jordan. I mean, he like you said, Michael, they're both averaging over 4 yards. I'll take that any day of the week. Just one's a little bit more explosive, I think.
Yeah. Well, it could be the 1-2 punch that we had last year with Knight and Ricky. I mean, it can be that. I just think when you're looking at depth chart and you had a thing going into the season where you're concerned about the run game. Like he looks really good. So
there it is.
I think the one thing that's separating them right now. Sorry, Michael. I'll cede here in a second. Is that Houston's better at pass blocking. If Demi can get that up, I think that will be what flips them from 1 and 2.
That's actually not what Pro Football Focus says, but I get you. He's got the maturity. They gave Demi a better pass block rating.
Good.
He did. He actually I think he was like ranked 7th on the team. So for this game, yeah. Which, by the way, I'm really enjoying these stats. So
You're a stat guy, so
we were talking another concern about offense. We were talking about tackles. Do you know who had the best or offensive line? You had the best pass blocking grade on the entire team.
Say Tim McKay.
Anthony Belton.
Belton.
Guys.
Let's go.
And he had
really well.
AB.
I believe, he was your he was your second highest rated offensive lineman behind Zavala. But pass blocking, he was the highest grade offensive lineman. So to me, game 1, there's your answer there. Him and Zavala, that they played really well. So, and then Doran also highlighted Tim McKay. I don't want to leave that out. Tim McKay did a really good game too. He was graded really well. But so
I want to shout out Hannah. She found a sumo suit.
See,
we should all wear it to homecoming.
just get paint like a red zero on it. Yeah.
Love it.
Wear it for homecoming.
I'll do it.
Hey, I will say when it gets late in the season, that actually might be smart. It'll be warm.
Yeah, our wolf onesies were so warm. We're determined to find another one.
But just to kind of wrap it up though, so obviously like wide receiver wise, I think pretty much where my head is at is really just kind of no comment really at this time. I mean, Devin Carter, he didn't really stand out per se. Thayer looked fine. Daryl Jones got some in there. So like to me, it's like no real answers at this time. Like, everybody was just kind of so really.
Some of that's the product of the quarterback too, though. Quarterback play,
right.
Drives
that.
And the play calling. I mean,
yes.
Can we talk special teams?
I'm really not worried about the passing. I mean,
yes,
it was rough, but they'll figure it out.
We're gonna bounce back against Charleston Southern, y'all. Don't worry, seriously. Yeah. We're gonna hang some on them.
Well, we better. It's Charleston Southern.
Right?
We'll be fine. We'll be good. But quickly here. Special teams. Yes. So what was the stat now? Is it like 7 straight
5 in a row?
5 in a row.
Games.
5 games in a row with a special teams touchdown.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Yep,
that's an incredible stat.
Frank Beamer will be proud for us. Yeah.
Beamer ball, baby. Beamer ball.
That's a really good stat. And I saw another one, not special teams related, but this is going back to we've talked about the rankings. Someone, Jack R _NC on Twitter had how many, I don't know the number here of how many actually traveled. But he said, how many top 20 teams went on the road and won this weekend?
2.
We might be the only one.
1.
Houston State.
Wow.
Oh, one
NC
other.
State. Yeah. No. How many top 20 teams went on the road and won this weekend? 1, NC State. So, I mean,
Houston and BYU both did their top 25. But
and I would say, I try to figure out, who actually went on the road. But, Utah was one I can think off the top of my head.
Yeah.
But,
they lost.
So,
a lot of those teams also start their season at home. Your really good teams usually end up either a neutral site or a home game. So
that's really how it works.
Put the points made. But special teams, let's go.
But it was funny too. I saw one poll that already came out that had Clemson at 10, which I'm like, they didn't even play yet. But anyway, so
special teams were great, man. Sean Brown, you've heard some comments about Doran and some other guys commenting on him. He had a really big tackle or block on one return and then recovered the ball. But hey, Previllen is a guy who's been buried on the depth chart, and he had that block was great.
Yeah,
that'll get you more playing time and highlights there, man. And I think he's the 3rd string wide receiver, but that's a really great play there. I mean,
it technically ended up winning us the game because that was an extra 7 points.
True.
Yeah.
No,
I thought they did. I thought they had a lot of good movement on the line before that. Maybe caused a little confusion. And then it took like the punter a week to get it off. But I guess he's 30 and maybe he had some hip issues and was going a little slow. So
no, absolutely. So again, special teams.
But the one thing we need to work on is punting. Hang time on those punts.
Yeah.
It seemed like he got better as the game went on. The first couple were not great, but
I
then
would agree.
They downed one. They downed one at the 1. So
my concern was more with kickoffs. I know they had Colin Smith kicking it off, and there's that pooch kick he had. That was a short, shallow kick to end going into halftime. That was intentional, but like the opening kick was like
5-yard line.
I was like, Now it kind of hung there and it bounced, and that made up for the time it took to get there. But that was to me the bigger concern.
I think he put one in the end zone though, right?
He did one.
I think he put one.
Did he?
He put one in. I
Did he?
think he put one in. Yeah,
maybe.
All right.
I think. But again, a lot of it too comes down to that we've been very spoiled for sure for the last few years, obviously with AJ Cole and Trenton Gill for sure. So, but I think that Shane McDonough did a fine, serviceable job.
Yeah,
very serviceable job. So, definitely just got to give him more time. Again, first game, see how it goes, and then we'll go from there. But yeah, definitely, I agree with you though, making on the kickoffs for sure. Just need to either, if you can't get in the end zone, give me a little bit more hang time, or get it through the uprights, like get it out of here. So we'll kind of see with that. But making, you kind of brought up there, about 20 minutes ago, kind of wanted to kind of wrap this up and kind of talk about the overall positives, here. And, I think first of all, I want to bring up Barstool Pack here's tweet saying, "We've lost in the opposite spot so many times and we've been miserable. Celebrate this one. We deserve it." And to me,
That's
I'm
a good
like,
way to wrap it up.
Amen. At the end of the day, I mean, how many times have we been in the opposite situation where we were the better team?
South Carolina and Clemson.
South Carolina, Clemson. I mean, we were the better team. I mean, that South Carolina Chick-fil-A kickoff game, we were statistically dominating them in every single facet of that game, but just didn't win. Clemson 2016, we dominated that game and we weren't able to pull it out. So again, it's just like, to me, it was one of those games which I'm happy we are 1-0. It's nice. It's nice for a change, and it's payback for everything that happened in previous times. So,
like at the end of the season, after we played Carolina, no one's going to remember that we eked out this game.
Correct.
They're going to look back.
I mean,
and go,
some state fans like we will, but like the majority
Yeah.
won't.
Yeah.
Because we're cursed with it in our minds.
Well, they're just insufferable. Like that's more
Yeah.
like what it is.
No.
But it was I'm just thankful we got the win. Like Doran said, don't apologize for winning. He made a comment I thought was really good perspective too. After week 1, half the teams in the country have a loss, and you're not on that list. And you went on the road, and that other stat that guy just tweeted out, it's only the top 20 teams that went on the road this week and won. It's only one of them, and it was NC State. So there are others who could have lost, and you could argue we should have lost maybe that game. I would kind of argue we probably shouldn't have. We should have made it more convincing of a win. Probably the more legitimate argument, but very thankful.
I'd have rather had that reality check there than in an ACC game.
True.
Right. Yeah. Right. And at the end of the day, if your goal is to get the national championship, you're still alive for that.
Exactly.
You can't necessarily say the same for Utah now because they were a dark horse darling to make it.
They were kind of the same conversation as NC State a little bit.
Yeah. So
Michael,
all your goals are still intact.
Yeah, I mean, you could make the argument that kind of win is better than if we had gone in there and blown them out, because now you know what you need to work on and fix, especially on offense, but you still have a win. So,
and also too, not many injuries. I mean, obviously losing Trent Penix is hurts for sure, but it could have been worse.
He's going to come back.
He's going to be back. He's going to be back once we really get toward the meat of our schedule.
You're going to need him the most, actually.
Yeah, I think he's going to be a big piece for sure. But I think.
Side note, by the way, how weird is it that ECU is celebrating this win this loss like they are?
I know
that wallpaper thing.
But so I'm going to answer this
later. Owen Dapper for going to class tomorrow.
Yeah,
I've been thinking
he's having the Kyle Bambard effect, maybe.
Yeah,
I feel so bad for him.
I'm going to say this to your point, Leighton. What I think are positives. I think you've got a running game, but eyeball test. Demi Sumo's the guy. I think even eyeball observations you got there is the offensive line. Anthony Bell and those guys did really well. The numbers back that up too. I think the struggles you have in offense, like if we're going to play like that offensively, we're not going to have the 11-1 season like most of us thought we would have. It's probably going to be more like a you might not win a lot of games. I mean, I'd tell you what, Syracuse looked really good the other night, guys.
You could be Louisville right now. Holy smokes.
You could be Louisville. Like I thought they were going to be the dark horse team for the Atlantic, and maybe they will be, but like they looked ugly. They looked ugly. And Garrett Schrader for Syracuse looked like a better passer. You've got Florida State looks much better. They choked.
Yeah, I'm not convinced on LSU though. I'm not convinced on LSU.
Yeah, so
they're in a rebuild. There's a reason why you fire your coach.
Well, yeah, and definitely Brian Kelly is making some not so recommended comments that he's been making in press conferences.
If I can leave my one positive,
go for
is
it.
that you went into that environment, first game, you made the mistakes, you went through the adversity, you played in front of a hostile crowd, didn't play your best, and still know that you can come away with a win. So, like,
good teams do that.
Yeah,
Can
good
do
teams
that.
find a way. Good teams just find a way.
And I think that prepares us better for Clemson. We're coming
It
home
does.
for 3 weeks, and then we're going to turn around and go back to an environment that's insane. So I think that ECU win definitely helps with that.
I agree.
They're out for blood.
And I will combine that with also too the fact that I think we're getting a little bit of a confirmation that maybe Clemson is maybe very similar to what they were last year. It's like, okay, that's good to know.
Yeah, you should like perk, it should perk everybody in the ACC's antennas up right now. Be like, they were down last year. Maybe this year they're not playing so great. Unless Cade is really the real deal for Clemson. There is a crack in the door here. We can take advantage of for the rest of the Atlantic.
Yeah,
and of course they score TD
right as soon as we say that.
But I mean,
everyone remember this is Georgia Tech. They're and also the ACC,
and also it's the end of the first half. It's about to be 14-0. Like it's not like Clemson's beating them 35-0 at halftime.
Like they would be in like previous years.
And DJ's only thrown for 79 yards. So. Anyway, but want to kind of touch on a couple other things here, because again, there has been some other stuff going on in state sports besides this game. So I want to touch base on them. What? Are you crazy?
They all shut off and fall.
Yeah. So a couple things real quick. Obviously, want to give a huge shout out to our women's soccer team that started out this week ranked number 19 in the country, which again is, I mean, huge
jump. Huge jump. They were. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, I mean, too, the fact that again, now this is another team that is right there in the top 25 and probably will be consistently in the top 25 for years to come, if in my opinion. And you add that with, cross country has been killing it, baseball that's been flirting with it, women's basketball, football, like, that's another team right there that is competing in the top 25 and competing against the best teams in the ACC.
Tennis.
So, and tennis too. Yeah, absolutely.
The women's soccer just lost their first game of the season yesterday. So they're 4-1-1 on the season now.
I'll say side note, go back to tennis, women's tennis. They just got like a high major commit, like cream of the crop tennis recruit globally, nationally, whatever it is. Yeah. It's global. Yeah. So it's, I mean, having the season like we did, winning it in doubles, that's hopefully going to really pay off for us here the next little bit. Women's tennis doesn't hurt.
Absolutely. Yep. Absolutely. So now moving on to baseball also too. This is also a big piece, big announcement too, is the announcement of Anderson Nancy announcing his commitment. So now NC State has 4 of the top 5 recruits from the state of North Carolina in the class of 2024. So it's clear that Avent and Coach Hart are continuing to dominate on the recruiting trail. And I'm sure that obviously with all of the upgrades that are going on right now at Dale, I'm sure that's probably playing into their hands as well, saying that you guys are going to get here right when really all of these changes are really going in place. So again, it's just great to see that. I've obviously heard a lot of good things too from Justin Cook. He always loves to keep us in the loop of how baseball is looking and what the Dale Doak renovations are looking like. So it's good to see that baseball is continuing to kind of feel like take that step up a little bit here. And then the last thing that I want to bring up as well was this tweet from about Carlos Rodon, who has 9 double-digit strikeout games in a single season for the San Francisco Giants. So he has been dominating, and not only just this season, but last season as well. I mean, again, this is a guy that was just on the struggle bus when it came to injuries, but then all of a sudden now he's had 2 healthy seasons in a row. Man, he's been dominant.
The White Sox blew it.
They did.
Right. They blew that trade.
This tweet was our alternate for Darby Electric since he's unlimited power.
Yes. Speaking of electric,
speaking of power, we have Darby.
Yeah, Darby Electric, baby. So and Southern Family also too brings up this great comment as well, saying state sports are good top to bottom, unlike some community college in Chapel Hill where some players can't spell their own name but can look good in some Jordans.
Yeah, that dance by
Mac Brown.
Oh my
Dude,
God.
you just gave up 40 in the fourth quarter. Why are you dancing?
Thank
I mean,
you.
I mean, you won the game. I guess you want to. I've heard. I get the logic of you've practiced so much, you only win so much. Enjoy, and they haven't won. I'm like, yeah, like you look terrible.
Can you imagine if Doran did that?
Yeah, imagine if. Yeah, imagine what they would say if State had done that and Doran's doing.
If State had done that, people would have went insane.
Yeah,
talking about how you barely.
Yeah, they were talking about it on Get Up this morning on ESPN. Like Get Up was like talking about it and thinking, "Oh yeah, this is so funny, haha." And it's like, yeah, it's kind of awkward. I'm like, no, it's really awkward watching him dance.
It's straight up embarrassing.
Somebody tweeted and they said the difference between the way UNC handled it and the way State handled it just explains the type of team and maturity and leadership is on each.
I like
team.
it.
And I retweeted that tweet. I loved it.
Now, I mean, I will say, I will say this, that I wasn't necessarily, I was like, let's pump the brakes a little bit on Drake May after he beat Florida A&M. But I will say Drake May is legit. I will say that. I will say that. But I will say this, as well, saying that Gene Chizik being the all endowed savior of UNC's defense has been far from it, to say the least. So definitely still feeling confident, when we face those guys later in the season. If all the cards stayed the same, I would still feel confident heading into that game later this year.
Like they say, what's old is still old.
Yeah, that's true. Amen to that. Amen. And Mackenzie White, who's the UNC fan that we had on to talk football
Mackenzie, she's a UNC fan. Oh God,
I know.
Okay.
He asked the question: is NC State the third best team in the Atlantic behind Clemson and Florida State?
He's just trolling us right now. That's all it is.
I know. Come on, Kenzie, get out of here, brother. All right, y'all. Well, again, first of all, want to say thank you all again so much for tuning in here. It was a pleasure again. It was great at the end of the day here again, celebrating. We're 1-0, baby. 1-0 heading into Charleston Southern. Got some time here. Got a huge back in Carter Finley, baby. 12:30 p.m. Make sure also too, if you want in on our ticket giveaway, we have 2 tickets right now that we are giving away on our Twitter right now. All you have to do is
what?
I know. All you have to do is follow us on Twitter. You have to retweet that.
That's right, Mackenzie. Go $10 million.
Yeah. and then like that tweet. So again, just check that out so that way you do not miss out on the opportunity to win 2 free tickets to the Charleston Southern game. And we have other plans for other giveaways here this week. So make sure again to follow us so you do not miss out on that. Make sure as well, if you don't mind as well, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so that way you are notified whenever we release any new in-state content, and also too whenever we do any of our live streams, Tuffy Talk live shows, watch parties, you name it. And so make sure to do that. Again, it's free to do, and it really helps support us in the channel. Also, too, make sure again to check out our brand new Tuffy Talk live show sponsors, Darby Electric LLC, for all of your electrical needs, residential, commercial, you name it. All their information for the website and the phone number are in the description below. For this live show, just make sure to go and check them out. Would really appreciate that. And then lastly, as well. Yeah, man, I know. I think that was just for you, Macon. And also, too, is if you don't mind as well, if you're an NC State fan just like us and you love NC State, hit that like button, y'all, and we would really appreciate that as well, as that really helps us as well. But thank you all so much again for tuning in. Stay safe, y'all. We'll see y'all Saturday, 12:30 p.m., NC State versus Charleston Southern, baby. We'll see y'all then. As always, go Pack, y'all, baby.
All right, guys.